that sun is touching the horizon, you know.
Well, let me just say something.
But the rich dawn.
Yes, it awaits.
It awaits.
You know, and God permitting, we will all strive so that eternal beatitude does begin in this life, right? Because we're all called to the 9th level of prayer. Our current bishop, tasked me with reading this tremendous book on the subject, and so I can't, in obedience, I can't harp on that concept enough, that, eternal happiness can and should and ought to begin in this life. And, once you turn the corner on that rich dawn that never ends, eternity, it starts with believing that these things exist, and then you shift from faith to hope. You strive to get there, but then once you have it, all that remains is charity. And I just want to say, as you're sharing about your progression and your own personal testimony and your life journey, one thing that's been a real joy to experience and to witness as we've done ministry together, and you've impacted so many young men and women with these stories about what you've learned, particularly with the men in Exodus especially. And I've been involved in a number of young adult ministries, and it's an interesting term, right? Young adult. It's in the U.S. it's certainly defined as 18 to 39. The USCCB has weighed in on that, and it's a wide age range, right? There's been times when we've all joked, like, am I really a young adult in my 30s? Like, it's just like whatever. It can sound goofy or whatever, but we realized it might have been you actually that dropped this wisdom suddenly one day that, like, maybe Holy Mother Church in her infinite wisdom, like, one of the reasons that she allows for that age range span is because there's like a generational bridge built there, right? And because they say circa 15, maybe 20 years is a generation. About every 15 years they're coming up with a new letter or a new phrase or whatever to depict an entire swath of people. And so I think there really is something to that. And specifically, the thing that's been such a joy for me to witness while doing God's work with you is, I've seen where as time goes on or people get, older on that spectrum, especially if you don't have, like solid leadership that sets the framework, the tone, like everything I just described about what's good and wise about, having that age range 18 to 39. If people don't have that why, if they don't understand that, and they're just suddenly showing up at this thing because they saw some flyer at a church or something, and if they're not made to feel comfortable, if they're not, if you don't have that like radical Benedictine hospitality component there, people can get weirded out. People can feel like they're not able to relate to those that are like older than them or way younger than them. And, we very much have striven over the years to make sure that those bridges are being, built, and that there are no gaps that you have to worry about, and you fill them if they're there, because there's so much wisdom to be shared cross-generationally. And, I've seen some challenges in ministries where, as some of the guys get older, they might, there just might be a concern with certain people feeling comfortable or confident or this or that. And it's a challenge for the whole community, right? It's something that needs to be balanced, but we haven't had that. You know what I mean? With your leadership, especially when you've started to step up and take on more leadership roles and mentor roles, right? That's a theme here. And, certain things come in season and out of season, right? Seminaries didn't even exist until the 15, maybe 1600s. They started in the wake of Trent, the Council of Trent. So, I mean, for the first 1500 years of church history, you didn't have seminaries that trained up and formed young men. You had mentorship, straight up. You had that apprenticeship model that, again, came from the OG, Jesus Christ, with his apostleship model. So that's never going to go out of season. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so there is something to be said for having that, direct encounter with each other and finding opportunities to add value to those that God places in our lives, as you have.